This is a 95 Nissan 4x4 2.4 4-cylinder. This is the driver's side, front drive shaft. X marks over here, so I can put it back right where it was. So move to the front. I put O marks right here, and here. As I'm pulling the transmission out. Well, the truck is that way. The front drive shaft bolts. The nut goes to the front of the truck. The bolt comes in through the back. The back side of the driveway is opposite. The nut goes to the rear of the truck. The bolt comes in the front of the truck. I already took the gravel plate that was bolted from here to there, to there, to there. And there it is, 8 bolts later, which are size 14. And one front drive shaft out of the way. And these will spin. That's why I marked it. So now I'm going to take out the rear drive shaft, which slips in the back of the transmission, and it's bolted back here, and the bolt's going in from the front of the truck to the back. The nuts on the back side, and they are size 17. So you gotta undo the nuts. Slide it out. Drive shaft is out of the way. I did drain both the transmission and transfer case. Drain the transmission and the transfer case, and jacked up one wheel to turn the drive shaft to get the last bolt out. Next I'm taking the starter out. So I got the starter loosened and out of the way. I don't know if you can see it over there. There it is. Just took the bolts out and pushed it back. So now I'm going to take the torsion bars, which I got to put the truck on jack stands. But before we take them out, we are going to measure these bolts back here from the nut to the top on both sides. So when I put it back, I put them back in the same distance. These bolts right here. And then they gotta unbolt from the front there and there. But first you have to undo these. Too long, but it has to be on jack stands, so that'll be next, and then we'll unbolt the bolts that hold the transfer case to the transmission, Make sure to unhook all the stuff that's hooked up on it, wires and whatnot, and drop the transfer case out of the way. I took the shifter boot out, which is basically bolted on. You gotta take unscrew the knobs off, and these are number 10. They just go around. Some back here somewhere. Deep in there. And that's how you get to that. I'm gonna unhook. See if we can see these three here. The shifter from the transfer case right there. This bolt right here, and then there's a bolt up there and another one up there, and I'm going to take that shifter out of the way. Well, I'll loosen this one. Right, I'll loosen this one right here. That didn't get me anywhere. So I'm gonna see. Wow, he's got all kinds of play. I'm gonna loosen this here and see what happens. Okay, that worked. I took this, loosened this bolt, and that came apart from that. So now I'm gonna take these ones out and see why removing this shifter out of my way. So I took the transfer case shifter out of the way and cleaned the top of this shifter, which I'm gonna go ahead and remove it and see what that looks like. But I clean all that junk out from the top, so I don't have any debris falling inside. I also noticed that this bolt is flat top. This bolt is concaved at the top. So is this one. But the one in the back here is also flat on the top. I don't know why, but that's where they go. That's where I'll put them back. So I took the 4 bolts out, pull up on the shifter. Made a cover plate. These are the bolts that go in there. I got some short bolts for my cover plate, so the debris don't go in there when I start messing around. Alright, to get the torsion bars out, you gotta take out these snap rings. There goes some right here. The bolt under here, it's a 19. And then we can get these to see there's 3 bolts on here, which is 19, and those 2 are 14s, and they're screwed, so you gotta hold them from the back, and it's not super easy. And then we gotta slide the bars back, and you have to mark them. You have to mark these to that, because it's going to come out of there. And the same at the front. it's gonna come out. The splines are gonna pull out of that. So mark that to that so you can put it back where it belongs. And with those out of the way, you're free to drop off this cross member. But you have to support that transfer case and unbolt it. There's a bar. There's the other bar. And the transmission to transfer case bolts are size 14. You got a whole bunch of them all the way around. Don't forget you got 3 from the top side of the truck coming from the back towards the front. 14 bolts. One down in there, one there, and one there, along with all the other ones from the underside, and that one over there. Okay, on the bottom of the transfer case, the bolt that come out of this hole here is longer than the rest of the bolts. So I suspect that this one and this one are gonna be longer too. They're loose. They just won't come out because they're hitting the transmission mount. So I'm just gonna leave them right there. All the other bolts are exactly the same. They're all number 14s, the same length, except for this. I'm gonna call the 3 bottom ones right here. Not that one, but that one, and that one. I believe are gonna be the longer ones. The cross member bolts are 17. There's 4 of them. And don't forget to do this line right here. So I undid the line from here instead of up there. And then I'm taking this and that screw out. This is attached to the cross member. And these are number 10 and they got a Phillips head on them. Cross members out of the way. Got a jack under these. I gotta separate it and take it down. I have to move the jack across so you can see. Slap full of oil. Oh, well, after the fight, there it is. One transfer case out. Next to transmission. So next is gonna be the transmission, which I gotta even do that switch and whatever else needs to be done up there, and the clutch, and the starter's already out of the way, and whatever bolts hold the transmission to the engine and the cross member here. So let's get going. Those are 14s. Then there's that one that has that ground wire to it. It's a 14. There's a couple on the bottom there, like to the dust plate. Should take those later. And then on the other side, there's a couple. These are all 14s. And we'll see what the cross member is when I get there. I'm getting these ones from the top on the driver's side. See my wrench down there. The phone would focus. It's down there. This wrench. I need leverage. Steering wheel. Come on, break loose. There we go. So I got all the bolts off the bell housing, and they connect the transmission to the engine. And I gotta take the cross member out and the backup light switch. Everything else is undone. So just so you don't make the same mistake I did when taking the transfer case off, I would put the oil pan underneath, crack it up, and let whatever's coming out of the back drip out, and then move the oil pan, put the jack underneath and get it out. And don't try to pry with the screwdriver in between that, because don't pry between the transfer case and the transmission, because you may damage the edge on there. I just took a block of wood and the rubber mallet and hit it a couple times, cracked it open, and then it came out pretty easy. Anyway, we're gonna drop these transmission next. But first, I gotta undo that plug right there. It's hard to see. It's the backup. That's the backup light plug. That plug comes out. There's the part right there. It clips on. I couldn't even see it. It was so covered in gunk. The bolts, they hold the transmission to the mount. This transmission mount, there was a bolt right there. I already took it out. It's a size 17, and there's that one right there. There's a hole under here. Put the ratchet on. And it's square top, so it looks like that. Fits right into that slot right there. And then there's the cross member bolts. And the cross member bolts, you have to put a wrench behind them to get them out. Bolt nut. So, doing that next. And they are size 14. So I'm gonna go to the other side, take one out, loosen the other one, then put the jack underneath, and then come back and take this one out. That's what we're looking like. Let's have one bolt holding this up. The jack under the transmission. And finally the transmission is on the ground. Not too hard of a job. Now that I got these out from under the truck, and that's the back end of it, where the transfer case attaches to it. And here's the front end of it. I gotta clean it up so I can take it in my shop, take it apart.